Start our first show, and we're so glad that you are here to join us tonight for this edition of the Jason Decanio Show on this Saturday weekend here, July 12th, 2014. Well, friends, we got a great lineup of music, but that's going to be later, as the first hour of our show has something we haven't done in over a year and maybe four months. Yeah, a year and 3 months. We have not had a real live interview on the subject that has pretty much been, as you know, a topic that, first of all, can pretty much be very touchy for some people. Other people decide that this is the truth. And you know the story of me. You know the story of you don't know the story of the guest that's actually coming on here. Once was one of them that was actually doing the stalking. Now has finally decided to come forward, make apologies, tell his side of the story, and start really telling everybody out there what the real stalker has been doing. And as you all know, yours truly has been stalked for over a year and 3 months, and it's continually going on, and it's never ending. And, of course, you know the story of the individual who is a loyal friend and true. He himself also has been stalked. There have been a lot of people who have stalked, but not as much as the guy who's listening in. But tonight our guest is none other than Keith Detweiler. Now, Keith Detweiler has many YouTube channels. He is an Amazon seller. He works very hard, but he wanted to get into the inner workings of the cyber stalker. And unfortunately, he was also emailed and harassed by the cyber stalker himself, to the point of doing some very grotesque videos against those to help out the cyber stalker. And then, of course, well, he'll tell you the story as we go along here. So that's going to be our first hour, and then later on in the program, of course, we've got some great music, News of the Weird, and a whole host of other great stuff. So why not, let's further ado, get on with it, because we've got a lot to cover. Yep. Yeah, the show starts right now, my friend. That's right. And for all those who are listening out there, the show is starting. Yep. So we're going to call Keith right now, get him on the line, and talk to him. And remember, friends, this is the gentleman who once was on the side of the stalker, but now, well, you're going to hear his story in just a few minutes. Let's get him on the line right now.
Hello?
Hey, Keith, it's Jason from the Jason Decanio Show. How you doing?
Doing good. Hey, how you doing, buddy?
It's great to have you here on the show, and welcome to this edition of episode 383. So, we have a lot to talk about in an hour, and I'm glad that you were able to spend some time with us here. First and foremost, let me introduce you to everybody. This, of course, is Keith Detweiler, and he lives out in, where exactly are you out from?
Actually, I live in Marietta, Georgia.
Marietta, Georgia. And were you born and raised there, or you've had just moved there previously?
I moved here about 8 years ago.
About 8 years ago. All right, cool. And for any new, I know there's a lot of new people out there who are going to be listening. Tell us about yourself and what you do now, and what kind of story you've got to tell us.
Well, pretty much, I'm a Christian, and I believe in righteousness and doing good things. And also, about me, I am a lightweight web developer, and I've been studying it for about 10 years now. And I'm pretty much real close to my family, and we all share different thoughts on for some of the family members I have on web design.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's great. How long have you been doing web designing?
For about 10 years.
Wow. And when did you get started, or how did you take an interest into the field?
Well, I've been on the internet since there was internet pages. Actually, my fascination with the internet started about 1988.
1988. Wow.
Yeah, I was really young then, and all my friends had computers. We had computers. I had a Commodore 128, and we were going back and forth on modems talking to each other.
Oh, wow.
And there was no pages back then. It was just, you had the infrastructure back then on all the different computers of who you were going to communicate with. I mean, you had internet, but it was different than it is today.
Oh, yeah. So you guys established the first, what they call instant message.
Pretty much. Yeah, just between us, yep, we did that.
Huh. Wow. And was the, just to kind of briefly expand on it, was the connection slow? How fast was the connections between the modems?
Actually, they weren't too bad because they're all local, so they were pretty sufficient.
Did you need a phone line also, too? Or
Yeah, I had to have a dedicated phone line, and back then the phone lines were not cheap.
Oh, wow.
So I was actually mowing lawns and stuff just to be on the computer.
Jeez. Well, hey, if that was your reward to do that, then well worth the money spent.
Right.
Because most of the time, people would have computers just to play games, do bills, or something. So you and your friends went beyond what people did with computers back then.
Exactly.
My goodness. And did they
actually, I'd download games from, there was called a game net on green screen, which you could dial into, and actually still back then you could order games, but it wasn't like you were putting a credit card in. You would have to physically order it, and then you'd have to call them and fulfill the order.
Okay. Wow. And did they have a specific name for this kind of internet, or was it just internet?
No, it was just basically direct ordering.
Uh-huh. Wow. Direct ordering. Whew. And so even AT&T didn't even have a chance at this, or any of the phone companies. They didn't even tap into this, or they didn't have any knowledge of it.
Well, they did because they helped start it, because they were giving everybody direct lines to go off of.
Wow.
Yeah, because, the airports and all that, they were the first ones to have all that technology before it went into public.
That's amazing.
Or in the military and all that.
Wow. That's taken it back. So, whew. Because really, we only had internet the way we see it. I've only had internet for about 10 years. Around 99 is when everybody, I think, had started having access to it the way the computers were.
And that's when I really started. I was like, oh, man, they're really doing different things on here. They're doing web pages and started getting to doing some light HTML on the side as a hobby. I still do it as a hobby, but I'm not into much programming. I just like building pages.
And I remember in a conversation we had a couple days ago, you said it's not easy to build websites. It's got to be one of the toughest things to do. Yeah,
to build a website fresh from top to bottom with HTML and all the new HTML code, yeah, it takes a lot of work.
Amazing. But it's well worth it when it does come out, right?
Oh, exactly. Yeah, it's more than worth it when it does come out. I mean, I built one a long time ago, but it wouldn't ever run on today's platforms. I'd have to completely redo it.
All right. Well, when did you get into the online e-commerce?
Let me see. I started selling on eBay back in 2004. Actually, I became a customer there in 2004.
And what was one of the? Could you tell us some of the products that you sold, or did you have like a service? Because some people didn't just sell products; they sell services too, right?
Yeah, they can. I just sold products. Like I just sold stuff I had around the house, record collections.
What do you think is the biggest product back then and still big today on eBay or Amazon that people sell?
Ooh, that's a tough question. That is a tough question because it really doesn't really matter what you sell as long as you have a good price on it.
No, yeah.
And it's in decent condition.
Yeah.
I'd say the biggest sellers, honestly, are probably in the electronics section, like cell phones. I mean, I've sold more cell phones on eBay than I have any other item.
Now
that's just my personal sales.
Now, as far as the cell phones, like no contract phones or actual phones that you've had and then they were slightly used. I mean, were these brand new phones or What was
Yeah,
the
these are brand new
condition?
phones. Yep, I would outsource through some warehouses,
Mm-hmm.
and if you order in bulk, you get them cheaper, so then you can make a profit on it.
Ah, okay. Yeah, because it's kind of like you want to know how people would get they want to know what type of condition the phone that they were getting was going to be in, because if people were looking for slightly used or new ones, I mean, that the competitive shopping, all you got to do is look and see. It's like, my gosh, I want this $300 phone. Where can I get it cheaper?
And that is it. It's all about price.
Mm-hmm.
But back when eBay first started, back in what was it, '95?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went on to eBay back then when the internet was young, but it was an order base. I mean, when you bought something back then on eBay, you actually had to send someone a check for the item. And I got my first item on eBay called the Internet Treasure Chest that was being sold so you could learn how to sell and be a good seller on eBay.
Wow, that's great.
And a lot of people don't know what that is. If you go Google it, the Internet Treasure Chest wasn't really about setting up a store on eBay.
Mm-hmm. And how much money do you think you need to set up an account on eBay? Or do you think you just need no money to start it up?
As far as I know, it doesn't cost anything to start on eBay.
Right.
Not at all. eBay or Amazon, you can just get an account and it doesn't cost you anything to set up an account.
Right, because a lot of people think that it would cost you some sort of money, just a little bit to start up, because they.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of people think that. I've helped a lot of people get on eBay. Like I have some friends I've helped get on eBay, and I've talked to just general people. I've been on the internet at the coffee shop, just looking at all the stuff that I've sold. And they're like, "Oh man, how do you do this?" I was like, "I'll show you. Just set up an account. It doesn't cost anything."
Very nice.
And what's good about eBay now, same with eBay and Amazon or any other platform, is the ability, you don't have to pay money up front anymore to ship your items out. That just comes off your cost of the product that you ship out.
Right. And what is this situation now with PayPal now that they still, you ran into a lot, I noticed you said you ran into a lot of problems with them holding money, freezing your assets for 21 days. Are they still doing that?
They will. Yeah, I ran into a problem in 2000. Yeah, actually it was 2010, end of 2010, 2011, where I had started putting up a lot of nice items on eBay and sold them real quick and made a lot of money, and that to them is suspicious. So they'll suspend your account and do an evaluation on it. And once they do that, back then it was 100. It was it took like over 100 days.
Wow.
They can go up to 180 days. I don't know if they can still do that, but you had to really prove, okay, what items you're selling, where are you getting your items? Okay, well, we have them at home.
Mm-hmm. Wow. And what? I don't even know how I can put this. What kind of? Because now we've seen that there's so much suspicious activity going on. Did you ever involve yourself in any of that to try to get ahead?
I did try drop shipping on eBay from Amazon, and I'll tell you, you do not want to do that. You get yourself in dangerous grounds. As soon as one person says, "Hey, if I wanted this on eBay, if I wanted this on Amazon, I would have asked to get it from Amazon." And I ran into that twice actually, and that's why I stopped doing that, because you really don't make any money anyway. I mean, you make very little. You don't only make in the residual off those items, and it's a very small amount if you're not careful.
So explain to us what drop shipping is basically.
What drop shipping is you use a company, or you use, say, a warehouse that houses your items, and then what you do is you just list them on a web page, and when they buy them, you just make sure that you're going to send them out from that location, from that warehouse. And a lot of people use Amazon as a warehouse because essentially they are a warehouse. They're just big warehouses everywhere, and that's why people use them.